Yo, what's up? You know you must fight, baby. Baby, don't just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, oh. How you doing tonight? Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone, mommy. Just can't argue me around. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, oh. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. You just can't around. Oh, oh. Don't got begging me. Yeah, oh my God, yeah. You know, Michael Jackson is the best artist of ever. Can't nobody beat him. I'm telling you, can't nobody beat him. As a producer, as a choreographer, as a dancer, as an entertainer, as a person, he's just like, he's the shit. And he was actually a really good actor. He just never got a chance to do it because they were hating on him. They were hating on him. They're never gonna play that song again, huh? Massey. I don't want to hear that. That's another person who I really like is Kanye West, though. I don't know why, but that new song, Carnival, that shit. I'm just doing Uber Eats. I got on the other night. Well, I was about to get on, and I was waiting for you, but you never got on. But it was also kind of my fault because I was gonna get on. Like I was gonna get on earlier. Oh, I gotta. There's a fucking police in front of me. Yeah, I was gonna get on earlier, but what happened was my cats ate my the wire to my shit. Oh, they're not open. Yeah, they ate the cord to my whatchamacallit, to my to my router. And it was like crazy because I came home and I just paid the bill, so I knew it wasn't that. So then I'm like, yo, like at first I thought it was like something with the bill, but I was like, I just paid it because I had no internet. But then when I went and checked the router had no. I'm like, what? Maybe like something happened to where the circuit breaker went off. So I switched off the circuit breaker and stuff like that. Back, that still didn't work. So then I'm like, maybe it's the plug that is plugged in. So I switched the plugs. Still didn't work. I'm like, man, what the heck is up with this thing? So then I tried something else just plugged into it. That works. So then I look at the cord and I see all these little bite marks that somebody's been doing. I don't know which one of my cats has been doing it, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be what it is. So I take the router out. I try to put it in some other plugs to see if it works. Doesn't work. And I try to fuck with it. It didn't work. And then I basically had to look for another like power cord that would fit into the router like the proper way, and that's what I found. And it finally worked, but that took me like 30 minutes. So what's up? Do you want to play tonight or do you want to play tomorrow? Alright, what? I gotta do a couple more orders.
And that sounds a believer. No doubt he got some mental fucking issues.
Ride dick like carnival. Impossible. Yo, the way that shit dropped, yo. What up, Alan? She ride dick like carnival. I just did the impossible. Go. She on the road. Dick like a carnival. Did the impossible.
She ride it like she's fast. We turn up to the max. I walk from the back. I gave that bitch a grab. They love me out in France. In the hood, I'm good, I'm stamped. Every day I dress all black. For sure not how they act. To the East Coast double head. I'm a neck up bubble back. I'm a rich new Cadillac. Cause I don't wanna bag. Little bitch, I'm a superstar. These hoes wanna fuck my car. My dog put a nigga in park. Gotta watch out for the dogs. This the Game of Thrones. Yeezing out the clothes. Elon, where my rocket ship? It's time to go home. They served us the part since the day we was born. Anybody pissed off? Gotta make a drink the urine. Now I'm getting Kelly,
make a drink the urine,
bitch. Now I'm Puff Daddy Rich. That's me to me rich. She gon' take it up the ass like a ventriloquist. I mean, shit Taylor Swift. Since I had to roll it on the wrist. I'm the new Jesus, bitch. I turn word of the Chris. This for what they did to Chris. They can't do shit with this. Got my kids in a fake school. We ain't.
She on the road. She ride dick like a carnival. I done did the impossible. Go. She on the road. She ride dick like a carnival. I done did the impossible.
Running around in the line, I know they tired me, having like 10 on them. She
With my eyes, I can see. I'm a leaf. My body is trying to hold leaf. Go. You see honorable, she's magic like carnival. I did the impossible. Go. You see honorable, she's magic like carnival. I did the impossible. Go.
Gary.
That song makes me want to slap people.
Most leaders do. The delusional issue. I'm a god.
Like I really those not want to go.
We get another day of NBA action. And with FanDuel, every night is watch party. So it's time for your FanDuel crew to make their bets. So, what's the move to make?
Yo, down
The
in
new
the
customers who
deal.
bet $5 get $150 back in bonus. Win.
And go
Eating up,
down
fam.
in the deal.
Bet all the stars with all your friends and make every moment more. Only on FanDuel. New customers bet $5 get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
It goes down in the deal. It go down in the deal.
21 plus in President Maryland. First one,
How-
real money wager only. $10 first deposit required.
I guess I'll
Bonus
see you
issued is
later.
non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Please play responsibly. For help, visit
Does the Lady
BetOnline.org
Gaga skin look
or
good,
call
though?
1-800-GAMBLER.
What's your go-to drink before flight? IPA?
Like, is it a good skin? Like, does it look cool, or is it just a Lady Gaga skin?
Lounge by the club. Learn more at chase.com/Sapphire Reserve.
Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval.
Save on premium seafood at Whole Foods Market. Get 20% off wild-caught halibut fillets with Prime through February 27th.
She's so big. She gives head. Oh, she sucked it. She's audible. Like carnival. I did the impossible. What's festival? What's festival? A Guitar Hero. What? I can't. What do you mean, like Guitar Hero? Music? They always be doing that shit.
Old man be in there fucked up, bro, and he be doing that. He be doing that bullshit. Talking about come here, he here. He crying.
Yeah, I do that every time I come here. It's the same shit.
He be doing.
Cause they 24 hours, right?
It's your 24.
What is smoking? Look at the man.
Last time I put up, I had to ask man, let me get. Breathe.
24 Oh, my internet. What do you mean, like Guitar Hero?
Come out to jump. What you mean close? You just gonna close the store when you want to?
When do you open? Huh? 15 minutes? Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you just, like... Look, I'm gonna film this too live, too. Look, homie is in this store. I'm gonna report this to Exxon, yo. It's fucking... He's closing the store for whatever he wants. Every time I come to this store, he closes the store. Like, for nothing. I think he's getting fucked. Like, he looks like he's fucked up on something, right? So what he does is whatever he's doing, he's closing the store. So oh snap. Thank you. He let us say, guys. And I gotta get something. Damn it, I gotta get something. I don't got what I want. Fuck. I don't get what I want. Oh man. They do have what I want. At least have one of them. This is my favorite cake. I'm telling you, if you see this in the store and you don't know what it is, try it. I don't even know if I should tell you that. I would say don't try it. Because since I've tried it, I have not been able to stop eating it. It's like bad for me. Do we want anything else? No, this is it. $3 for $6. That's the free little cut. Can I get a receipt, please? Thank you. Have a good night. I don't be watching stuff like I haven't really watched TV. I really haven't watched anything that would have um I watch Law and Order every day. All right, so this cut, like, I've been on the way, but this person's like, "Where are you at?" Or they text me, "Is everything fine?" Which is really meaning, "Where are you at?" I want to see if they tip me. If they tip me good. This is a place where the guy let his dog pee all over the front door. And it was weird because people were trying the door and his dog was peeing, and it was like a guy and a girl, and they just waited until the dog finished peeing, and then the guy and his dog kept walking down the sidewalk. The guy was smoking a cigarette, and they ain't say nothing to him. You know, I would have been pissed. Get it? I would have been pissed. But it's like, what? Why are you letting your dog piss like that in front of your building? Like, you know how dog and cat piss be smelling. Hello, I have a delivery for 2415. Thank you. So, I have to have a key. Oh shit, I'm on the 24th floor. Going up. Let's see. Like, you see that one at Wawa? $25 tip. Right? Like, look at this place. A high-rise apartment. You live here, right? So realistically, I'm not supposed to park here, right? I can't park here. Look, no parking, towing enforced, right? All of this. I'm not allowed to park here. This is towing enforced. So there's no parking anywhere around this person's house. They want you to do something illegal to have to go inside of their building. You have to get a key fob from a lady. Once you get the key fob from the lady, you get in here. Person lived on the 24th floor, so now I have to go all the way up to the 24th floor. Then I have to find their apartment and drop it off. That takes like it takes like 10 minutes, right? Why can't you just come down and get your order? And this is what I like. I really want Uber to change that. 'Cause I'm not gonna be doing Uber longer. But I still don't think it should be something that people should be. That people who live in apartments, especially like depending on how many floors it is, right? Or they charge a person an extra fee. It makes more sense to charge an extra fee, right? So it's like this. The person, let's say this, the person who lives in like these apartments that aren't like this, it might be 4 floors or 3 floors, and basically you can get out and you can just run up the stairs real quick and drop it off at their front door. Granted, they don't have that hard of a time, so they might be like, F it, I'm not gonna pay the extra fee. I'm just gonna come out and get my food, right? Or they might pay the extra fee. They have to pay their door service. You gotta go ahead and look. Tell you can make 150 if you really try. I've been telling you to get your license for like 2 years. Then the person got the nerve. And well, I've been good, I guess. Yeah, I've been good. How have you been? I never understand it. And that $25, I remember that order for Wawa. The person was so nice. They damn near walked out to my car. That was like an easy delivery. Like if I'm looking at that delivery, right? Yeah, it was a super, super easy delivery. I made $30 off of that trip. It only took me 15 minutes to get it done. But the person tipped me $25.06. And just like I said, they came out. It's so weird to me, like the price of the order depends on like how the delivery is. It like, to me, I would think it would be the opposite. I would think the person that didn't tip would feel bad and like be waiting at the curb for their order so you don't have to do any extra stuff. It seems like those people are like, they're acting more privileged than the people that are tipping. It's like the people that tip good almost like feel bad and want to make your delivery drop off as easy as possible. But the person that doesn't tip, they want to make your delivery drop off the most difficult. Like I feel that it's like they want to, I don't even know. It's like weird. It's like they almost want to be like, yeah, man, you got to fight these wild dogs. And then after you fight the wild dogs, I'm going to sick my He'll Have Eyes brother on you. And then once you get past him, then you're going to have to solve a riddle. Once you solve that riddle, it will give you the code. You enter that code in, and then you have to find the secret door. Like you have, it's like Saw. Like I show up to the address and I'm automatically in Saw traps. And I have to escape these traps just to deliver the food to the person. That just means you gotta pay more. So I'll do this trip. Alright, so what you need to do is type in 150 divided by 40. Do 150 divided by 40. Well, I'll do it. 150 divided by 40. Right? You got to do, if you charge somebody $40 to do their yard, all you got to do is 3 yards. If you charge them $40 times 4, that's 160. You've made a $10 extra. I'm pretty sure you could charge somebody $40 to cut their grass. It should take you 2 hours to cut grass. What you need to do is ask your dad. Well, I don't know. Most of those people have people. You need to go to like a semi wealthy neighborhood, like a really wealthy neighborhood. You could probably find a house that's shitty. Yes. They have somebody that does it because they have like an HOA. And you can't let their yard get out. Like they belong, like they live in a neighborhood and everybody has rules to that neighborhood. So they're not allowed to do certain shit. Certain people aren't allowed to get their glass. And they usually have people that do it. You want to go to a neighborhood that's kind of really rich, but not really rich. Like, I wouldn't even say a little bit over medium income. Like where the houses are big, but they're close together and they don't have a lot of yard space. Because when you're in a wealthy area, their fucking yard the size of like 2 football fields, and their driveway is like a whole fucking street itself. And then when you finally get up to the house, they have a whole fucking forest that's behind their backyard that's all theirs. Plus their whole backyard is another fucking football field. It's like fucking huge. The fucking garage is bigger than it's like the size of some normal people's houses. I just delivered to some place like that in Potomac. You know, this motherfucker's house looks like a small mall. Especially the way it was like made. But his garage was literally like a single family home. Like a 2 or 3 bedroom home. That was the size of this person's garage. It was fucking huge. And his house was bigger than that. It was more like a compound. So you cutting grass and shit like that. That's where the money's at. Lawn care. And the reason why that is, it's something that everybody needs all the time. Not everybody, but everybody who has like a house or a yard. Right? That's not something that you can only give somebody one time. That's like a service you have to give to somebody multiple times. And then when you get into lawn care, depending on where you live, it changes with the season. So like, you know, like where we're from, I don't know if it's like the same where you are, where I am. Like where I used to live, it changed where like during the spring and summer, I could cut grass, right? Then when fall came, I could rake leaves, right? That was the thing that I was able to do, was like rake leaves as they're falling down. Then when winter hit, I could go out and shovel snow. And then as soon as that's up, spring's here, the grass starts growing again, then I was able to cut grass. That was like my first little business. I don't want to listen to that.
One or both of the girls. He was seeing the anxiety elevate more with each tick he called out. They were becoming afraid of each other. Neither of the two was sure if the other had it in them. It wasn't a situation that they could ever have imagined being a part of before setting foot on Bedlam. Suddenly, Hannah lunged forward and grabbed hold of the drill, struggling to even lift it. Kayla looked at her like her eyes must be deceiving her. Hannah's flimsy wrist was going limp under the weight of the tool. It was all so exhilarating for Herschel. "Yes! Go! Go!" he bellowed out as the veins in his rod bulged. "Hannah, no! Please! What are you doing? Don't, please!" Kayla cried. Hannah blocked out the background noise and just tried to focus on the distressing task she'd been forced into. It was difficult enough to attempt it mentally. Physically, though, it felt impossible. Kayla rushed toward her and knocked the drill out of her hands, letting the heavy equipment fall to the floor. "What the hell are you doing?" Kayla screamed in a way that sounded like she'd shredded her throat. "I have to," Hannah blubbered. "That's right. You have to, bitch. You have to," Herschel whispered, continuing to push buttons. Hannah bent over and reached for the drill again, but this time, Kayla didn't let her get that far. Being the competitor of the family and an avid soccer player, she launched a kick upward that connected with Hannah's nose and mouth region. a hefty splotch of blood, and the disgorging of the massive greenish-yellow self-supplied swamp of accumulated snot ejected down over the drill and clear tarp. The innumerable tears shed and the stiffness of the blow had created an explosive cesspool of revolting bodily fluids. Hannah sprawled back onto the floor, landing on her ass motionless and stunned. It hurt Kayla inside already, the guilt gnawing on her conscience as she reached for the tool. Hannah never really had a chance. While they were similar genetically, Kayla was the only one of the pair to stay active and strengthen her body constantly. The only chance Hannah ever had was catching her by surprise, and that element had already evaporated. She sat on the stomach of her still reeling sister, who was disoriented from the unexpected blow. "I'm sorry," Kayla mumbled through a drool-drenched, crinkled chin. As the struggling words escaped, it was clear the apology hadn't changed her morbid intent. She held the drill steady from the next slimy handle, but upside down, driving the heaviest part into her forehead. Up and down, it continued in ruthless fashion. The blows crunched loudly and only died when her sister's movement finally ceased. Kayla gazed down at a bizarre mirror image of her own cracked expression, feeling nauseated. Herschel was getting close to climax. Watching the whole atrocity unfold up close and personal was a perverse treat. "You're not done. Stick it in her. She's still alive. Do it now or you'll get the snake, Kayla. Do it now or you'll regret it, I promise you." She hesitated another moment before summoning the wicked courage to move forward with the evil and selfish deed. She pressed the trigger of the tool and closed her eyes, driving it forward as hard as she could. She felt the powerful spiraling bit get caught up on the bone, amongst other mortal tissues. "Help!" Hannah moaned out as she'd just woken up on fire. "Why?" I'm sorry, Hannah," Kayla screamed, disturbed by the noises she was emitting. Hannah didn't stop. When Kayla opened her eyes, she could see the drill spinning half deep into her sinus cavity, while the blood and boogers splattered all boiling within her as she manipulated the twisting steel to dance up and down. "Just die! Just fucking die, please!" she shrieked.
We're here, guys. We're at. Let's see where we're at. Where are we at? We're at Pizza and Grill Fillmore Things. You ready to do the impossible? We got 2 orders. There's one. There's both right here, Ricky and Jonathan. Ricky and Jonathan. Thank you. Have a good night. Yeah, they're so weird about making you accept the order now. Like, we're not handing these deliveries over to you. Marketing picked up. Like, that shit don't help nothing. Like, if a driver wants to keep the food, well, I guess it saves them, because if the driver never marks it here that they picked up, I guess there's no, like, they picked it up, like, confirmed order, and the driver then does something, it's on the driver. Rather than the restaurant looking like they're fucking the bad guys.
Right along with Hannah's face and let out a satisfied sound of deep relief. Kayla felt the gore-filled grooves of the devil's drill bit rubbing up against the whittling arches of her orbital bone as Hannah lost all movement. The fight was finished. Her breathing was no more. Kayla was spent, drained both physically and emotionally, scarred forever. She felt a strange hunger and wheezings come over her before a low-hanging feeling of disorientation that used to tell her secrets and jokes was now just a bloody memory. When Kayla awoke, she was inside the hospital laying on an elevated bed. Her mother and father sat by her side as she started to regain her awareness. They stood over her, so thankful that their little darling was safe and sound, but also visibly entrenched in the pitfall of a cavernous separate concern. The prodding anguish was unmistakably imprisoned within their pupils. They were no doubt waiting for her to explain to them what she knew about Hannah's whereabouts. After getting her bearings back and talking with her parents a few moments, she started to remember the blasphemy she'd committed. She recalled each savage strike that beat her kind face into a state of senselessness. She remembered the spiraling drill tip burrowing inside her to a finality that was beyond life-altering. She remembered the rudy outpouring of her beloved doppelganger's youthful essence, running out like a busted pipe. The last horrid image of her inverted nasal basin and her former functioning eye socket that had been left a disturbing gore pool. As it all came rushing back,
let me explain to you what this is. There's a different story that is connected with this story, right? So basically, there's another one called. It's like a book that has like a bunch of different like horror stories. It's like an anthology. And there's this woman. Oh my god, hold on. There's a woman who, like, she can never get a guy to like her, right? She's, like, getting older. She's, like, 30-something years old, and she still hasn't found somebody, right? Every guy that she meets leaves, and she really wants to have, like, a family. She wants to have, like, she really wants to have a kid, but she wants to have a family, so she would really want to have, like, a man, like a father for her kid and all this stuff, but it's getting too late to where she's like, I'm just gonna have a kid on my own. I have enough money, and I feel like I can take care of a kid on my own. So she goes to like a sperm bank, and they basically inseminate her, and she gets pregnant, right? And she goes along. Her family's happy with her. Her family and friends are like, we'll help you out as much as we can and stuff like that. So right before she's about to have the baby, she gets a phone call, and the guy says this crazy guy basically came here and he went psycho and he killed a bunch of people, and he wanted to figure out like who his kid, like I guess he was donating sperm there. So what happened is they said that the kid was inside of her. He was calling to warn her, but before she could get off the phone to do anything, the guy busted in her house and was holding her hostage. As time goes on, he's like doing stuff, but she yelled out, "He's here!" So then that guy called, like the guy at the sperm bank calls the police. The police head over there, and right before, like as they're going on, her and the guy are talking. And he's like holding her hostage and saying stuff. Then all of a sudden, what he does is he stabs her in the stomach. Right? But as he stabs her in the stomach, I think he stabbed her. Something happened. Oh yeah, he stabbed her in the stomach, and then the police come in and they shoot him in the head. Right? He falls over. She grabs the knife out, and then she like finishes him off. Right? Even though he was pretty much done, she's like mad and finishes him off. Luckily, well, not even luckily, they saved the baby. But now the baby is disfigured because when the guy stabbed, he basically cut off the baby's bottom chin, right? Like they cut off all of this. So basically, it's like his tongue hangs out because he doesn't have a bottom chin. And he has like this breathing thing where he's like, kind of sounds like me right now since I'm all stuffed up, but he does that shit constantly and he sounds all loud. He's like this, and he has like a mental disability, right? Like he was in a coma or some shit. Well, anyway, he's always gonna be like childlike. And he has like the breathing thing, and he looks like super scary with the scars and shit. So anyway, he grows up. But as he grows up, family members come over, including their friend. They come over to help her out, and he attacks them. Right? Even though like he hurts himself, but anybody that's not his mom, if they get near him, he like tries to kill them. And he's like super strong too. So all of his friends and family stay away. on his 21st birthday, this guy comes and knocks on her door. She's like having a birthday party for her son. She's about to put him to sleep, and somebody knocks on the door, and it was the guy that was in the sperm bank. And he says, I have to tell you something, ma'am. And she's like, what? He's like, I have to confess, I've been through therapy. I had a problem and all this. She's like, what? Like, just tell me what it is. So basically what he did, he basically used his sperm to impregnate all of the women that came in the sperm bank, right? He had thousands of kids. He had been doing this for years. So really, the kid that was inside of her was not that crazy ass kid. They just lied and said that if he didn't do that, none of that would have happened to her. So she's thinking like that, like us upstairs, they got stabbed, his throat on. He's like the crazy kid. Her kid is really that guy's kid that came over to her house and was like, yeah, I used my sperm for you. So what she does is she's like, oh, well, what you can do is go say happy birthday to him. And she takes him upstairs. And basically what happens is, his name's not Hirsch. I forget what his name is. He kills him. Right? He killed the guy. I don't know if he kills his mom. I think his mom committed, like, unalives herself. Well, anyway, he unalives the guy and he ends up escaping and he goes on like a killing spree. But then they lock him up and they put him in this crazy home. Now, fast forward. So we're at this story, and then this is what happens with the kid's like 35.
Began to rush away from it. She knew Herschel was right. There was no earthly way that she could explain what she'd done to her sister. She'd left her best friend, her own flesh and blood, a muddled heap of chewed up humanity. It wasn't prison that scared her as much as how they would look at her. She felt incredibly alone and riddled with irreparable damage. Where's Hannah? She asked, not knowing what else to say. To her, acting like she didn't remember was so much better than the truth. It was the only option to avoid getting trapped in her own lies. Her mother and father looked at her with crushing grief and disappointment. They buried it well enough that she wouldn't have known it was there if she didn't know the truth. Her mother was biting her lips so hard she was just short of drawing blood. She held back the tears with everything she had. Before either of them could respond to answer her question, a nurse entered the room. Oh, thank heavens you're finally awake. How wonderful. We just have a few more tests. Would that be okay? Would you mind coming with me for just a couple of minutes? Then I promise you can see her as long as you'd like. They both nodded solemnly and rose to their feet as Kayla's eyes begged them to stay. Mom, Dad, wait, can't they just stay? A moment, dear. Sit tight. The sweet-voiced nurse reassured her. She escorted her folks out of the examination room and further down the hall, closing the door behind them. It didn't even take 30 seconds before he popped his round head inside, bearing a strange grimace. There was something different about him from the other doctors that Kayla had seen during her typical physicals and regular office visits. He was a lot more disheveled and poorly groomed. He was outfitted in a raggedy white coat that was soiled with mucky smears. Even his stethoscope looked filthy. A build of orange wax sat atop the set of formerly snowy earbuds. So how are you feeling now? Dr. Guyver inquired. His accent sounded thick and German. I feel sick, Kayla replied dejectedly. Well, let us see if we can figure out what's wrong then, okay, sweetie? She nodded her head as he approached her, placing the crusted and gooey stethoscope into his hairy ears. He guided it gently over her heart and listened to it pound rapidly. His eyebrows seemed confused as they mushed together. He dropped the drum down from her sternum and looked back up to her. Maybe, if you didn't kill your sister, you're feeling much better, he explained while his accent funneled out an even more broken variety of English. A spine-tingling terror jolted her up the hospital bed, her eyes overflowing with shock. How could he know? It wasn't possible, her mind screamed. Dr. Guyver quickly wrapped both of his large, sturdy hands around her tiny throat and started to choke her with a menacing expression stamped upon him. A bright, blinding light started to cut through her now closed eyes. The air was exiting her body, running free and fast without looking back. Through the white, mystical illumination, another picture began to steadily emerge. She also felt an additional crushing sensation of pressure running down the rest of her body, not just where Dr. Guyver had his hands. As the light started to flicker, the real picture finally became frighteningly vibrant. She was confronted by Herschel's creepy cutting glare again, succumbing to the perversion he desired so deeply as he watched Mabel's fat body worm its way around hers. She'd awoken for certain this time stunned, having been tricked during her slumber, leaving one nightmare to enter an even more terrifying one. The air supply inside her torso was becoming more of a commodity by the second. Crimson coated the snake's slick back as it tightened the crushing vice grip on her minuscule frame. Kayla's vision became obscured by the cracking blood vessels in her eyes. She could feel them individually bursting, one by one. She wanted to scream, but it was no longer possible. The last thing she saw was Herschel's yellow-toothed smile speaking the final words she would hear. "I had my fingers crossed." Teenage trepidation. The uncomfortable angst had been all too prominent since the talks of their future had suddenly arisen. Jessie had been dating Noah since the 7th grade. They might not have been the most popular couple at Bendbrook High, but they were by far the most consistent. No one had been going steady longer or appeared so picturesque. "Oh, Noah, what are you gonna do?" she wondered to herself. She was gently traced over an old photo of them at Wendy's. It was taken just days, both artistic in different ways, but alike in the sense that they were staunchly driven. They shared pores that permeated with passion. Jessie had been experimenting with makeup effects since she was a kid, and from a young age. While her peers were figuring out new ways to look cute, she was pondering the opposite, how to appall everyone she came into contact with. Watching the killers slowly slay their victims and creatures mutate into bubbling monstrosities wasn't anything that had ever come close to scaring her. She always understood it wasn't real, but still suspended her disbelief enough to engross herself in the weird yet wonderful world of horror. What fascinated her even more than watching the nasty murders and bone-crushing monsters were how they did it. How did Bob Botten make the monster in The Thing or the werewolves in The Howling look so convincing? If she could pick anyone's brain in the horror business, it would have to be Bob Botten or Tom Savini. Tom's work was phenomenal and stretched back decades and decades with humbling consistency during Creepshow 2 or masterminding his own exploding skull in Maniac. Any true student of cinematic violence knew that the gore and realism didn't get much better than Tom Savini. That's why he'll be heading to Monessen, Pennsylvania for a while to attend Tom's very own special effects school. Why the hell else would anyone journey to a place called Monessen? She'd been daydreaming about it for years, envisioning her rapid development, moving on from her own entertaining but amateur work that she'd become known for, and evolving into someone who could hopefully be a competent hand on the set of the next great slasher. She'd made a few short films herself with friends that were pretty special to her. One was called The Black Shit, and was about a jogger who came across a homeless vagrant living in a shack in the woods. He happened to be dripping with some black slimy life form which he, predictably, would then transfer to the jogger. The process of making the black shit itself was more than enjoyable. To her, it was heaven. It required a lot of cornstarch, patience, and black food coloring, which was surprisingly expensive. Now if only she could get paid to do it. Jessie was a death rocket, fueled by enthusiasm. She was born ready to get her feet wet with corn syrup, fake innards, and chunky streaming vomit. She was designed to mortify and unravel the undeveloped, vulnerable psyches of children, watching movies they shouldn't, well past their bedtime. Quite in clear contrast to her devout views stood her partner Noah, an artist himself. Could never be seduced by horror or the vintage-style special effects that captivated Jessie. He was a theater buff that fashioned himself as the next Daniel Day-Lewis, but was probably a lot closer to the next Jeff Daniels. Which would be an awesome thing to most people, but ironically, not to Noah. He was confident, at least.
Hi, thank you for calling Uber support. Please note this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes. It looks like you have a question about your correct? Please
Yes.
say yes or no.
Yes.
Before I connect you, I didn't understand. For verification, what's your date of birth?
September 15th, 1984.
Sorry, I didn't receive a valid date of birth. Please say the full... Got it. September 15th, 1984. Please stay on the line, and we will connect you to the next available team member.
Thank you for calling on support. This is Angel. How may I help you?
Yeah, so basically I'm on a delivery and I'm on my way to drop it off, but the road that the GPS keeps taking me down, for some reason it's closed. And I can't find like the alternate route.
Okay, so I mean basically you're not gonna be able to make it to the customer house, right?
I'm gonna keep trying. I just want to inform Uber of why it looks like I'm taking a long time.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
I mean, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Let me go ahead and get this customer the refund for the order.
Well, hold on. Let me try one more. I want to
try one more.
I want to try one more route. I just want to leave feedback of why it's taking long. You know what I mean? Because I know I'll usually get that message saying, "Why is it taking you so long?"
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to, I can let the customer know about it while you're taking a little bit longer.
Okay, is there any way that you can contact the customer and see if they know an alternate route?
Yes, sir. Let me go ahead and call this customer. Will you mind if I place on hold for no longer 2 minutes?
Yeah, that's fine. But shit. So this is crazy. It's telling me to make this right here, but the road's closed.
Thank you so much for holding. I got a question on the
Okay. Yes?
They say you have a hard time finding a location?
Yeah, so I'm coming from Virginia. Let me see, what is it trying to take me on? I guess 120 South is blocked off. What the detour does is it just takes me right back up the same exact way, and it won't let me go on to 120. Or maybe, let me see. Yeah, it's gonna. What it's doing now is I'm gonna go here, and it's gonna make me. I don't remember if I went this way. Let me see. Maybe I finally figured it out. Hold on, let me see.
Is there a way? I think you could go across Route 66 as well.
Yeah, I'm not really close. So let me see. Detour. Well, let me follow these detour signs and see if it's gonna end up taking me to where I need to go.
Okay.
Alright, so detour. Now that this is like now the detour signs are gone. So I'm on 120. Am I on 120? Yeah, it says I'm on 120. But see, now my GPS is telling me to make a U-turn. And I'm on Deep Road right now.
If you're on Deep Road, I think you should go, if you keep going down Glebe Road, you go down to Route 66.
Which way? Do you know which way down Glebe Road?
I'm looking at the map for Uber Eats. Yeah, you keep going down Glebe Road. You should hear. Yeah, if you keep going down, you'll see Route 29. You can take Route 29 straight and get across.
Okay.
Yeah, you keep going straight.
I don't know. Now because right now what the GPS is doing is saying that I'm even further away from where you are now.
Yeah, but if you go down across Route 29, should reroute you towards me. Yeah, if you keep going like that, you're gonna see Old Dominion Drive. Keep going straight.
Alright, so now it's added 20 minutes.
That's fine.
Well, I mean, I know it's fine to you, but for me, I've only been driving for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So if it adds another 20 minutes, that means I've been driving. I would probably be driving for over an hour.
If you go right where you at right now, if you go down Old Dominion Drive, you're gonna make a left on the Route 29. Like if you keep going straight down, it'll have Route 29 there.
Well, this is it. This was it. Old Dominion Drive is right here. And we're making a right or left on Old Dominion Drive.
You're making a right.
Is Uber support? Are you still on here?
Yes, sir.
So are you gonna be able to add extra compensation for this?
Yeah, you're still not getting paid for the time and distance.
I understand that, but I've spent like way extra. Like I've already driven the amount of miles that it was supposed to be.
Yeah, once you complete this delivery within the payment law, you have to give us a call back so we can fix this payment.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But I mean, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go ahead and document all these information so you can get paid for the time and distance, right?
I mean, I know that, but you know, I guess I gotta get recalculated. Because what Uber's thinking right now is just like Uber thinks that I'm getting, like basically, the app thinks that I'm getting lost and I'm not driving the right way, so it just keeps recalculating because the estimate, like the estimate, the estimate they give me is just like from when I pick up the restaurant to the house. They're not really calculating when I'm driving. You know what I mean? So if I drove an extra 10 miles, it's not like they calculate that in there. They're only going to calculate it from the distance from, you know, the restaurant to the drop-off.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to go ahead and make a report right now that you're driving extra miles right now.
Okay.
So, I mean, once you complete this delivery, you have to give us a call back so we can fix this payment.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm pretty much straight. But I had only, it was probably close to, I want to say like 10 miles extra. That it was like 10 or more miles Because I drove, I think, like 5 times before I called.
Yeah, I mean, I already make a report right now, so I mean, I know payment's gonna be low, so I mean, you have to give us a call back so we. Besides this, anything else that I can help you with? Got all the information with the order number, the name of the customer, the time, and everything.
All right, yeah, I just want to make sure because I was trying to I could have ended the order, but I really don't like not delivering it to the customer because I know that they're mostly waiting for food, but still got to get paid too. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, just in case that you're not able to mark the delivery as completed, just do everything for you, right?
yeah. See, now that I'm here, another 24 minutes to the trip.
24 minutes.
Let me see. Hold on.
It was 20, and then it's all giving you another 24 minutes.
Hold on. I don't the GPS is acting weird because I didn't go. I'm not going the right way. So hold on, let me see. Is it telling me to make this left here? Hold on real quick. It's telling me to make the left on 66, right? Let me see. Yeah, I don't know why it's telling me to go on 66. Like the
Yeah, if you don't want to go ahead and continue with this delivery, we can cancel the order. You still not get paid for the time distance, and I'm gonna get this customer the refund for the order.
Yeah, but they want their it's more about them getting their food. I just want to make sure that I can get paid extra.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I already make a report, so I mean, you should be getting paid once you complete this delivery.
Is that maybe why it was not on my quick road? Alright, I figured out what I was doing to make it a little faster, because I had to take it off of avoid highways because I was trying to avoid because it was taking me on the highway. That was the road that was blocked off, so I was trying to find a way the GPS would take me that was not a highway, but it wouldn't give me that option. It just kept telling me to turn around, even with me taking that off my GPS. But now it's saying I'm 16 minutes away.
16?
No, 16 minutes away. But right now, I've driven 28 miles.
28 miles, okay.
And
so
I still.
There's gonna be another 16 minutes, right?
And then right now I have to drive 8.6 miles.
How much?
I have 8.4 miles left before I get to the person's foot.
Okay. Yeah, I already got all this information on the system that you're about 28 miles, and that the episode thing is gonna take you on 6. So it's gonna be another 8.4 miles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I already got all this information on the system. So I mean, like I was telling you before, once you complete this delivery, just go ahead and give us a call back.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Besides this, anything else that I can help you with tonight?
No, that's it.
Alright, thank you, and thank you for calling on support. Have one tonight.
You too. Well.
Thank you.
Construction workers are idiots. They never make it. Yeah, dude. What'd you refund back? That was nasty. I gotta.
Welcome to Washington, D.C.
And see, with those people, right? And it's like I went above and beyond my job right there. Because I could have got that order canceled. And and it's like people don't fucking understand, yo. It's like me doing Uber Eats really made me hate people because people are so like I think a lot of people are narcissists, right? And it is weird, and some people are like their narcissism is stronger than others, right? So I feel like a lot of, especially kids these days and the younger generation, they're like almost all narcissists. They don't care about nothing but themselves, right? But other people are different, right? So like people who don't have kids really are narcissists, right? And depending on if they have siblings or not, and if they have a mother or father, is how strong their narcissism is. If they don't have anybody in their life, they only give a fuck about themselves, right? They're like really bad narcissists. If they have a mom or a dad, they somewhat care about their parents, but everybody else they don't give a fuck about. Then, if somebody has kids, it kind of makes them change to where they might have empathy towards other people. And it's not everybody, but I want to say the majority of people are like that. And it's even good people sometimes because they fully know and understand. Like this guy, the customer, I let him know, yeah, the road's blocked off. I've already been driving around for like 15 or 20 minutes trying to find this place, and there keeps getting there's like a big detour, right? And I can't find out how to get to your place. So then he tells me to turn around and start driving the opposite way, and then I have to go down another street. So realistically, I've only been driving for 20 minutes. You want me to drive 10 minutes out the way, and then I'm like, yo, well, it's adding 20 minutes to this trip. It's fine. And I'm like, yo, like, it's not just you that's spending time on this trip. Of course it's fine to you. You're sitting at your fucking house waiting for your food, right? Yeah, I know you're hungry and shit, but realistically, the reason why you didn't want to go out is because you didn't want to have to drive and do all this shit. If it wasn't for me, you would have driven and had to deal with the fucking detour. But no, I'm saving you from doing that. So you should be like, damn, man, I'm so sorry that you got to deal with that shit. Yo, I should give you an extra $5, man, my bad. But he doesn't think that. He's only thinking about himself. And that's why he was like, I'm fine with it. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're fine with it. I'm not fine with it. Like, I need to get paid. Time is money, especially driving. That's fucking gas money, homie. But it shows the way people think. Because realistically, somebody who was like a good person, like, damn, man, you been riding around that long? F it, yo. I'm just gonna eat some oodles and noodles. Yo, just cancel the order, man, if you got to. That would have made me be like, fuck it, no, I'm gonna get you your food, even though I'm gonna do it anyway. But I would have been like, no, man, I'll get you your food. I appreciate that. But for you to be like, man, it doesn't bother me that you gotta drive an extra 40 minutes. Like, you don't care that I gotta drive an extra 20 minutes outside of what I already had to do, and I've already been driving around looking for your fucking a way to get to your house to drop off your food. Fuck you. I hope you choke on a fucking meatball. I don't know if they have a meatball, but let's see. No, I hope you choke on a chicken bone. It's like certain people. That's why I really don't like Owl. I know she's your friend, but she's like the same exact way. She only gives a fuck about herself. Like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, people who steal people's kills a lot, they only care about themselves because it shows that they're not really being like, oh, like, everybody enjoys getting kills. If I run around and get all the fucking kills, I'm having fun, but is everybody else just playing with me? Are they having fun too? And then it's like, with her, it's like, you ain't fucking talking to her. She's just really some random person that you're playing with that's running around stealing your kills, and it ain't even fucking saying nothing to you. Like, what the fuck am I getting out of it? This relationship? Nothing. Like, I even had to tell Puppers that, because Puppers would do. I didn't care as much as him, because he doesn't do it like how other people do it. We all rotate together, and he's just fighting, right? And it's like squad, and I'm fighting somebody. He finishes fighting. He's gonna come over and help me, and then he might end up getting the kill because the guy's focused on me. I still don't like it. There's a little bit more understanding of why he did it than somebody else who's like, they're not even doing nothing with me the whole time. We're not even playing as a team. But as soon as I'm about to get a kill, then you want to actually like be like, oh, I need to help out, but I'm gonna help out in a way that you don't get nothing out of it. Getting kills is like the best thing ever. It's not the fucking assist. It's getting that fucking kill. And if you don't get the kill, everybody gets pissed off about getting their kill stolen. I don't care who you are. It depends on the situation, but nobody likes when somebody gets their fucking kill stolen. I would rather you steal my fucking loot. But then it's worse if they steal your kill and they steal your loot. Like if you're fighting somebody, right, and then they steal your kill, and then the person drops a mythic, and they had a crown, and then they had some other shit that you wanted. So the person comes over, shoots the person once, they steal your kill, then they run over and take all the loot that was supposed to be yours. Yeah, I'll be ready to fucking punch a hole in the fucking universe. But I think people, I think people that care need to be more conscientious about that. Like me, I only steal kills on purpose. And what I mean by that is, like, you know me, I'll steal your kill sometimes, but the reason why I'm stealing your kill is 100% like done on purpose. And I'm not meaning that to be an asshole, but it's really to get back at you, right? It's because you've stolen my kill, and I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna steal the kill back, so I don't feel as fucking mad about the situation, and that's what I'll do. But usually I don't steal people's kills because I'm conscientious of other people. Just like I said, he didn't say thank you or anything. Oh, he didn't even say thank you. But Michael used to be that way. And you know what type of person Michael is. BH Michael, he's the type of kid that does that shit. He'll steal your kills, your loot. He'll just do everything. And it's because he only really gives a fuck about himself. This 120 plush. What's a 120 plush? Like a plushie? Like one of those animals?
The theater and hated musicals in particular. Sitting through them felt like nails on a chalkboard, but that was Noah's creative outlet. She always pushed him in supporting interests. Supposedly, he had a potential opportunity at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute in New York. It would be a great place for him to develop and hone his craft while also giving him a high probability of finding some immediate work post-graduation. New York and Pennsylvania weren't terribly far apart. Pennsylvania weren't terribly far apart, but Jesse was well aware of how those sorts of situations tended to play out. People go to different schools, develop cliques, hang out with other members of the opposite sex, and boom, you've fallen out of love with a person just as quickly as you fell into it. It was only natural in her eyes. People want to be with a partner they can be around, especially young people. The nature of the beast was such a tragic and but the more she thought about it, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. While she supported Noah on his dull ventures into realms that disinterested, her. Noah was the reverse. He enjoyed nitpicking her attraction to the evil niche genre. It was something she was starting to tire from hearing about. His advice could be highly obnoxious at times. Taken seriously. There would be no meaningful group who saw dollar signs in the most juvenile butchery. A community that only existed to prey on people's fears with mysterious monsters and bait randy teens with movies that promised to be littered with promised to be littered with cheap nudity and sex. Deep nudity and sex appeal. He couldn't understand. couldn't understand that ugly can be pretty.
The fruit.
Beautiful instrument. Translate to unsuccessful. He caused to steer his.
Ooh.
Jesse into CGI or computer effects, concluding, with his expert opinion, that it was the only way of the future effects from her own unique perspective. To her, it had nothing to do with the future of effects. It was only about the past. It was what she loved. The retro would always resurface eventually. The automobile wouldn't be at all in prime time, the people would demand it. Even if people revolted against the cookie-cutter digitized mess that, in her opinion, she'd still be content with her choice. The real stuff they could feel all she wanted. She needed to craft the puppets. Herself. She wouldn't be able to rest in her grave if she didn't find a if she didn't find a way to accomplish it. Noah, for all of his faults, could still be Jessie got to see a side of him that only flashed behind closed doors. It made her feel loved and special. No one else knew about the guy who made a necklace for her using a rock from the beach they fell in love on. Most other boys in their age group would be pounding beers and trying to compare belt notches with each other. He was much more mature in his own right. That's the part of him she treasured. She'd been able to swallow the snooty know-it-all percentage of his on with the starry-eyed one. It would hurt if they were able to keep it going, but that was still some time away. She figured that finishing up the junior year together had the most important thing. Even if they didn't pan out afterward, they could look back on the simple, carefree times with a warm feeling. They could both know that they found love and companionship in each other during a period where most didn't. She already knew the most important aspect of her adolescent remembrances was going to be the skeleton on formal. It was Benbrook High's yearly dance to celebrate the macabre and ghastly. The dance occurred every autumn and was now merely a week away. Convinced Noah to put aside his sneering criticism,
Oh, hey, excuse me. You have the pen? All right, thank you. Have a good night.
but with or without him, she was going. He knew how much it meant to her, but still did everything he could to try and worm his way out of it. She took the greatest pride of all in her costume creation. She'd won the Best Costume Award 2 years in a row, and felt that earning the nomination every year of high school, suit and all, last year. The wounds and discoloration were particularly realistic, and her possessed portrayal was methodical. The contest wasn't really that. No one else was close to that level of dedication and detail. Now she was set to take on a less iconic, but more challenging character. She would be a partially mutated version of Natasha Henstridge from the sci-fi horror thriller Species. She already had the blonde hair and the sort of rectangular face that Henstridge had, so it was a natural fit. She'd been working on the suit all year long. The alien skin was looking more like a living organism with each passing week. The mutated arm slipped on and fit perfectly. The slightly slimy, long, sharp nails and jade complexion felt out of this world. The mask she'd been working on would cover about a quarter of her face, representing the partial mutation with a faultless balance. She would mesh it in with the latex she planned to hand paint, which would give it the authentic movie set feel. She would detail its craftsmanship. And found her deep. She found her detail and craftsmanship to be nearly impeccable. It seemed apparent that she'd have another accolade certificate and Dunkin' Donut gift card in no time. Noah eventually realized that if he didn't He trotted over to the local spirit of Halloween and settled on a diamond, which was essentially all he cared about. While Jessie wasn't enthralled with the choice, she was glad he was trying, even if he was half-assing it. Jessie sat at her table, hands caked in dry paint and other creative materials, meticulously applying a few final strokes to her soon-to-be face for a night, when suddenly the door opened up. Her father popped his head inside and smiled at her. Noah's outside. "Thanks, Dad. Tell him I'll be down in just a minute." "Wow, some pretty creepy stuff in here. Species was the perfect pick. You look just like her, you know." Heck, what am I saying? You're a lot prettier than her, he complimented, overly proud of his daughter for more reasons than he could count. Dad, you're making me blush, she replied sheepishly. Really, this stuff looks great, Jess. I couldn't be more impressed by the things you come up with. I just hope you'll come and take care of me still when you're all famous in a few years. You aren't gonna forget about us small timers, right? I'm not gonna be famous, but I will still... Okay, it's a deal. Jessie washed her hands in the bathroom before snapping up her handbag and racing down the stairs. Love you, Mom. Love you, Dad, she yelled out without stopping as she exited, closing the screen door. Noah was sitting in his mom's white Fiat 500, but the car seemed to suit someone of his character. The apple didn't fall too far from the tree. The foliage around them looked gorgeous. It was as bright as a candy corn that no one ate. Much of it was still on the trees, but a sizable amount lay draped over the sidewalks. As she took a seat in the car, she was already regretting not bringing a sweater. The cool, crisp weather had been on an incline. There wouldn't be too many more nights you could be comfortable without an extra layer or two. That was one thing about Halloween that was trying. Sometimes costumes called for lack of apparel. If you'd selected a costume of that nature, then you'd be tortured by the chills the entire evening. To Jessie, in some cases, the sacrifice could be worth it. She wasn't the type to use the holiday as a dress like a skank for a night pass. Those girls were the ones that really suffered. Well, aren't you looking sexy today? I love it when you wear those lucky jeans. Why, thank you. You're not so bad yourself, Jessie said, batting her eyes and giving him a peck on the cheek. He fired up a joint and took a couple of deep pulls before passing it over to Jessie. So, I was thinking we could do sushi if you're cool with that, he asked, eyes still sifting through the orangey leaves breezing through the road. Definitely. Want something? Where are you thinking, though? How about that new place over on the east side? What's it called? Tokyo Express? I didn't even know that was a new spot. Where on the east side is it? Yeah, it literally just launched last week. Cheryl said it was fucking unbelievable. It's just a couple blocks past the Lad Institute. That seems like a really weird place for a restaurant. But I guess crazy people like sushi too. Noah laughed at the notion, creating a strange image in his head of madmen struggling to trolls with chopsticks. It's not like they let them out for lunch just because they're in the vicinity, although that would be amazing. Right? We can always dream, I guess. The new guy. Even on the first day you meet someone, it's not difficult to get a feel for them. The old expression about first impressions had... Lawrence was a bit of an oddball, the scrawny, fidgety type that never quite seemed sure of himself, which is why it struck Herschel as strange that he'd taken a job at the Lad Institute, a facility that was well known for housing some of the most violent and deranged individuals in the tiny state of Rhode Island. You could go on about the collection of evil within and all their sins for eternity. You had Craig Price, the Warwick slasher who decimated a woman with a butcher knife at the tender age of just 13 before assimilating seamlessly back into ordinary everyday life. He'd resurfaced 2 years later, slaughtering another woman along with her 9 and 11-year-old daughters. He'd completely caved in one child's skull and stabbed the trio so many times that the knife blade had snapped off from the handle completely. He was sick, but not the sickest. Michael Wood Mancy was also a depraved example of the horrors within the walls of the Institute. When he was just 16, he'd strangled a 5-year-old that lived in his neighborhood, stripped bones of flesh, and shellacked his little skeleton. He kept a depraved journal that was allegedly so horrific it was deemed unfit for public consumption. The speculation and rumor had indicated that he'd eaten him. His father was a policeman, which probably helped him avoid suspicion to some extent. Luckily, for the small city of Woonsocket, he was caught in the act of his attempted follow-up murder before anyone else died or was cannibalized. Even in the smallest state of the country, there were dark corners all around. Those fellas were just the warm-ups. Things got far worse from there. He was here. If his guise was ever lifted, he would quickly be promoted from employee to customer. He was just exceptionally good at keeping secrets and covering tracks. That was the biggest variance. It was what separated the sick fucks standing outside the cell from the ones trapped within it, But the real question was, did Lawrence understand why he was there? If it was just for a paycheck, that would be a choice he'd live to regret. Herschel knew a man had to be built a certain way and have a rigid enough callus to simmer in a frying pan with the worst of the worst. You're not just giving in a place like Ladd. The Institute is also taking. Each day you broke the threshold, a part of you died, and the sanity level of all inside, those there by choice or otherwise, took a baby step closer to aligning. The titles and semantics didn't matter, they all had too much in common. Lawrence, at the very least, lacked that callus. His demeanor just screamed coward. The moment he saw him, he thought about how he resembled a dog with its tail everlastingly stuck between its legs. Today would be an interesting day. It's not often that Herschel got to watch someone ingest the degeneracies housed in the decaying old building for the first time. He'd already given him a speedy tour and went over the layout. The basics that were provided to every employee regardless of their occupation. Next, they'd moved on to the less ordinary aspects of the day-to-day. He'd introduced him to the more popular and sensationalized subjects that sat confined to their dark cells, mumbling nonsense to whoever might be willing to listen. Those subjects were always entertaining, but not quite as fun as others. Herschel found the ones with stories that hadn't been beaten to death by the press to be even more intriguing. The unknown evils that might have been living next door and you'd never even know it. The forgottens and throwaways, the scarce few that were outcast by society and forced into the wickedest of solitude. He had access to all the bizarre, minute details of their lives, from the most heinous of their atrocities to the gloomy, unnoticed injustices committed against them. He had the information to understand just how criminal they actually were. There was one man in particular that he'd been obsessing over for some time now. He was hardly a complex character, but in his eyes, the irony of his tale spoke to him. He was fascinated with how the barbarity of life's lessons had contorted him into a walking slaughterhouse. An imbalanced, frightening picture that people forgot to mention at church when praising God for his many beautiful creations. It was time to show him Edmund. As they approached the cell door, Herschel leaned up against the cold wall and lit a Newport. He was holding a rather bulky file in one hand and the lit tobacco in the other. Lawrence had a befuddled look come over him, jaw jumping a few times before he assembled the sack to spit out his question. "We can smoke in here?" "Why do you ask?" "Do you smoke, Lawrence?" Herschel inquired. "Well, no, but..." "Then what the fuck do you care? Do as I say, not as I do. Can you remember that for me?" "Yes, I can remember that." "That's good, 'cause otherwise, I promise you, they'll eat your ass alive in here. You work here long as I did, and you'd be fucking smoking too. I don't need you preaching to me," he scolded, now blowing his exhale in Lawrence's face intentionally. Them for a few seconds, letting his hateful glare resonate, ensuring that he understood talk like that directed toward him wouldn't go over as easily next time. "So listen, I brought you here, now that we have the basics out of the way, because I..." what you're getting into. All the stuff you've seen so far, while it's horrible and disturbing, it ain't shit. It's the ones you ain't seen or heard about that you need to primarily concern yourself with. The element of surprise is one of their most valuable tools. Looked in through the small rectangle slit in the cell door. "Okay, I'm listening, Mr. Hughes." "Good. Took you long enough. I suggest you pay close attention, because this is when you find out if you have what it takes." "I already know I have what it takes." "You don't know shit, son. All you know is that you're here, that you had the nuts to fill out a little piece of fucking paper and get you an interview so you could take a walk around. You ever seen a decapitated body?" "What?" "A fucking dead body with the head ripped off. You ever seen that shit?" No, sir, Mr. Hughes." "Well, that's just one flavor of the type of shit you're gonna taste in here. Let me tell you, this place ain't just some paperworker sitting at a desk. This place is hell. I should know. I've been working here for over 3 decades. You understand me?" "Yes, sir." "You ever heard the name Edmund Black before?" "No. Is he..." side of the opening. No, more of a forgotten local legend. His life was the type of situational satire that Shakespeare dreamed about. If you ever want to know what insomnia feels like, his case file would be an ideal read. How many people did he kill? They both stared solemnly into the cell at the hulking figure sitting in the corner and staring at the wall, his shaved head bumpy and grooved with deformity. A bluish hue cast over the dark cell. The lighting made Lawrence's feel especially creepy. The sound of flapping skin coincided with his air intake. A chill shot through Lawrence's body. If Herschel was trying to scare him, he was doing an impeccable job. The off-putting gesture sustained at a steady pace while their conversation continued. It's not about a number, it's about how he got there. His story started even before he was born. Why does he sound like that? It's, disgusting, Lawrence sobbed. Son, if you're disgusted by that, then it's best I don't answer the question. No, sorry, forget anything. I really want to know more about the patients. I'll keep all my criticism to myself. It would certainly behoove you to, considering you might have to step in that cell with him one day. Lawrence is into the cell while he listened intently to his tale, picturing it with a series of vivid mental stills. His mother wasn't the most beautiful woman, but by all accounts, a nice keep-to-yourself kind of lady. She had trouble finding a man and was just about over the hill, so she decided to be artificially inseminated. If she wasn't going to have a man in her life, she at least wanted a child. Herschel took another deep drag of the smoke, closing his left eye momentarily before continuing. Everything was going great. She was only a short while from her due date when she got the call. The clinic that had helped her conceive explained to her that the man who was her donor had executed his family in horrific fashion. On top of that, had gone missing. Being that she took his seed, they were apparently fearing for her life with him on the run. Holy shit! Wait, aren't most of those types of programs private? How would he even know how to find her? Lawrence inquired. Very good, Lawrence. Very good, Lawrence. Did you ever try getting pregnant? You sure seem to know a lot about this. No, I just like he was obviously trying to cover something up. Right. Well, the confidentiality wasn't applicable in this case, because someone had broken into the clinic and stolen the records, presumably the donor. No way! So it turns out, while she was on the phone with the clinic, receiving this news, the donor was already in the house. Put a power drill through her pregnant stomach that shredded it. Edmund's fetal throat, chin and vocal cords were violently ripped up in the cycling steel, mangled beyond repair. As Herschel recanted the story, he couldn't help but think about the situation on Bedlam with the twins. Did he simply choose the drill because it was randomly lying there, or was he subconsciously motivated by Edmund's tragic past? So that's why he sounds like that every time he takes a breath? Lawrence queried. That's right, and that's why eventually, when you see his face, you'll never forget it. That's sick, but it doesn't explain how he wound up in here, though. Lawrence prodded him, now hungry for extra details. Well, it turns out the doctor surmised that if she hadn't been pregnant, the drill would have split her main artery, and she'd have expired long before she ever reached the hospital. Paradoxically, if she hadn't been with child in the first place, the donor would have never even had her in his crosshairs. Think about that for a second. Herschel drew a deep final drag from his smoke and opened his bloodshot eyes wildly. The police shot the deranged donor to the job, but she got stuck living out the prime years of her life beside a nightmare, a monstrosity that had suicide seeming more appealing to her by the day. Herschel dropped the remaining filter to the floor and stepped on it, then twisted his foot over the butt. It was a miracle he even survived, probably a miracle his mother wished God wouldn't have formed. Why's that? Well, since he was born early, he'd succumbed to severe brain damage. That's why he can't speak, and look at the size of him. No baby born prematurely looks like this. They're usually feeble, only able to live on with the assist machines. Not Edmund, though. He's something else. It's hard to tell you, and you probably wouldn't notice unless you've been around him as long as I have. But you'll eventually notice he has a strange Arctic skin pigment. It's subtle, doesn't jump out at you. Makes him look like he's been sitting in a freezer his whole life. Like he's dead, almost. I don't get it. If he was born prematurely, then why is he so massive? Like you said, with the circumstances, it doesn't really make sense. It does if you read the file. The doctors essentially were confronted with a decision, one which they had to make on behalf of the parents. His mother was incapacitated and in surgery. His father at the time was, well, just say inaccessible. They were tasked with making a major medical decision on behalf of the parents. Herschel opened up the thick file that he'd been carrying with him. Again, these should be your best friends in here. I can't stress that enough. You can find out the details of all these and memorize them like your future depends on it. Otherwise, you'd be doing yourself a grave disservice. I could sit here and tell you about people that didn't learn them and how short-lived and unrewarding their lives became, but I think you get the idea. Don't worry, after this story, I'll definitely be reading those. If not for my own safety, then just purely for my entertainment. This story is fucking nuts, Lawrence conceded, making a detailed mental note. So what was the medical decision? He pointed with his finger onto the paper and cited a few paragraphs of information. So, as you can see here, his heart had stopped. Normally that's the end of the road, but at that time there was a, let's call it a controversial option. Well, what was it? You ever heard of Brand Max? The sewage disposal people? No, what would that have to do with this? Jesus, they're a pharmaceutical/alternative medicine company out west in Arizona. From what the case file says, at this time, they'd partnered with a handful of hospitals around the country to supply them with an experimental drug, some kind of adrenaline steroid concoction. If it's administered within a few minutes of death, they speculated it had the ability to bring them back. So when mommy and daddy are away, the doctors will play. But obviously it worked. It did, yes, but it also nearly killed him. His muscle mass increased to such a point of inflation that it nearly ripped through his skin. In fact, as a baby, he had to be sewn up religiously as he was constantly outgrowing himself. It was incredibly painful for poor Edmund. He was just splitting at the seams all the way up until adulthood. I've seen the scars that cover his body. He looks like a human jigsaw puzzle. You can imagine why he might have developed a temper, living in constant agony. Every waking moment was hell. You'll understand soon when you see his face. You'll know that it's not meant to be on a man walking upright. It's the kind you don't see because they already closed the casket. But it's better than being dead, right? The medical board didn't seem to think so. The treatment was ordered to be discontinued immediately. All remaining supply of the drug was said to have been destroyed shortly after the grueling side effects were discovered, and was the one and only recipient. The gift and curse all wrapped up together for you. So, better than being dead? Lawrence, I assure you, if working here does one thing for you, it will be helping you realize that there are so many things worse than death. Herschel closed the file and drew his attention back into the cell. In all the years he's been here, no one has ever been able to communicate with him. This was exactly how he was at his mother's house, just walking around, this empty imbecile void of any common human traits, except for the deeply knitted, almost instinctual love that he had for his mother. Poor lady, she thought she'd finally have someone to spend her life with, and the doctors end up creating this freak? Exactly, and the attack left her wheelchair bound, so the simplest life tasks became challenging for her. The report discusses how it became risky for anyone to come to the house. Edmund would become highly agitated and eventually confrontational with them for no reason at all. He was territorial, like a dog, when it came to his house and his mother. The attacks were so violent that his mother was forced to lock him in his room. Similar to what you're looking at right now, really. His whole life has seen him confined, regardless of his location. It's all he really knows. That still doesn't explain why he's here. Did he kill the people he attacked? I'm getting to it. Be patient, damn it, Herschel commanded coldly. Sorry. It was nothing that extreme until his 27th birthday. A man showed up at the door, allegedly from the clinic that helped his mother conceive. He asked to come inside and talk with her. She allowed it, curious as to why anyone from the fucking sperm bank of all places would be getting in touch so far after the fact. He explained that he was the one that called her on that fateful day of the attack. He told her that he was sick, a twisted pervert. He said that he forged the donor name on her paperwork. What? Lawrence replied, dumbfounded and on the edge of his seat. It was his semen that was in the ink that he'd randomly chosen to put down on her form. He was the donor, not her donor. Then a bag of peppermints. Well, there ain't anything refreshing about this one. It only gets more sour from there. So his real father, the man from the clinic, is there, only out of decades of guilt, and he really has no idea what Edmund has transformed into. He only knows that he's never met his son, and it's finally time to. Yeah, and... So he goes into his bedroom where his mom had him locked, and right when he steps foot inside, she slams the door shut and traps him. It didn't take long for him to get started on him. He pulled his heart out of his chest with his bare hand and ripped it in half like a piece of paper. He folded his father's spine in a way that made the expression bending over back all too literal. I've seen the photo. Shit is no exaggeration. He made that motherfucker look like a McDonald's arch. His strength is just ridiculous. Man, that's intense. It's more than that. That wasn't even the end of it. Eventually, the police show up and try to take custody of Edmund, but he ended up killing 3 cops before being shot 17 times. The lone survivor from the initial unit on the scene said he had to actually reload after dumping a full clip in it before it dropped. Yet again, somehow, against all odds, he survived. How did he kill the 3 cops? Edmund turned his head slightly to the side, offering a brief snapshot of the polarized mild meat that dominated his expression. His straitjacket appeared uncomfortably tight. It was like his body type created clothing dimensions not yet conceived, but still, there it clung, spray-painted over his enormous frame. Lawrence shuddered and looked away just as Herschel thought he might. Crushed bones, torn flesh, detached limbs, eyes gouged, and of course, decapitations. Hence my earlier inquiry with you. Herschel flashed a smirk for the first time all night. Wow, this is the kind of guy you'd never want to escape. I mean, can you imagine seeing this fucker strolling around the grocery store? I'd probably shit myself on the spot, Lawrence confided. Something clicked in Herschel's head. A brilliant idea that fed into his own hidden crudeness was just served up to him on a silver platter. Wait, what did you just say? He asked, not believing he had thought of it himself already. I said, this is the kind of guy you would never want to escape. How can you rehabilitate that level of savagery? This isn't Canada. It sounds like his mother was probably the only person he wouldn't harm. Herschel stood in awe of the concept.